Yeah.
Else is sick and fucking tired of seeing all the carnivore shit all over these fucking apps. No one cares if you only eat meat. Every single one of you have to identify by carnivore fucking Connie, carnivore Ken, whatever the fuck your name is, and you add carnivore to the end of it on your fucking bio is fucking weird. Weird. You're literally treating your diet like a fucking religion. A religion, a meat religion, okay? Like, what in the absolute meat fuck is this shit?
What in the absolute meat earmuffs is this shit? We are live. This is the Meat of the Matter podcast. That's Mark. He's Peter. I'm Tony. We are here every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. in the UK and Ireland. Even though they're blocking out the sun, he's still here. And at 7 p.m. in the Netherlands. How are we doing today, boys?
Feeling
great.
good, buddy. Feeling good.
All right. We've been getting some great interaction and engagement. We just had Anthony Irwin on market. We all talked to him, losing 500 pounds. Some great interviews. I can't wait for Kendall. I think Mark's got a surprise for next week. We'll post the video out. And, of course, the lives every Sunday. We really do appreciate all your support and all the engagement. Please like and subscribe to the channels, Dutch Carnivore. Mark's Fitness Beyond Time 01, and, of course, me, Tony _Food for Thought, because we could use your help getting this message out there. And we do appreciate all the support and engagement and all the comments and all the questions. We are here for you. Where we meet, you matter. And today, I know Peter's got some bones to pick, to say the least. He's got some things about, we're not going to try not to dog anybody. We're not doctors. We're not scientists. What the hell do we know? Especially when we're, Nothing to do with meat at all, but we're going to hear what this guy has to say, and we will get everybody's thoughts on this when we hear
Firstly, certified nutritionist is a complete oxymoron. There is no certification that you need to be able to be a nutritionist, and literally anyone, including a 4-year-old, can call themselves a nutritionist, and that is where all the danger comes from. There is no education needed for them to be able to call themselves a nutritionist and give you health advice that you may or may not listen to. And second of all, if you want to be a dietitian and you don't like school, then you should probably want to be something else, because you need to have at least a master's degree in a relevant field. You also need to complete over 1,000 hours of supervised internship and pass a national exam to be able to be a dietitian. Now, on top of that, the schooling doesn't stop there, because you need to have continuing education every 5 years to keep up your credential, or you will lose it. Being a registered dietitian is not like being a personal trainer. You don't just sit for however many hours and then take an exam. It is much more in-depth than that. Dietitians specialize in clinical nutrition, meaning they work alongside doctors to help treat diseases using medical nutrition therapy. Doctors refer to dietitians because they are the actual nutrition experts, while doctors are not. Dietitians also specialize in community nutrition, meaning they can work for SNAP or WIC or go out and do community education, cooking classes, lots of different stuff. And they also work in food service management. This could be in school districts, in hospitals, making sure people are getting adequate, healthy diets. They do so much. Registered dietitians are literally the most highly credentialed nutrition experts out there. There is no one who knows as much about nutrition as them.
Okay, on that note, when he said that. Okay, Mark, you're chomping. Let's go. Let's get into that.
Okay. So the last, they said to us that they're the experts. You look at the last 40 years, metabolic diseases have actually gotten worse. Where are we going wrong, lads? That's it. That's all I have to say.
That's it.
Where are we going wrong?
I'll say this before we can get Peter to chime in, because he's the one that brought that to our attention. But I studied to be a nutritionist, and can anybody call themselves a nutritionist? I don't want to be called one, but that's not the point. What's the difference? Well, a dietitian is a science degree for what? At the end of the day, anybody wants to go have a loved one that's in a hospital for any amount of time. Well, who makes that menu? A dietitian. So you mean to tell me somebody just starts to recover from surgery, they get Jell-O pudding and a bunch of, budget food items because it's a business. So dietitians are in the business, the paid by the system. they have to follow the rules. So, you know,
I like you, Tony. I paid a lot of money 20 years ago for my nutrition degree. Like I was in college for 3 years, and every half term I had to pay nearly 3.5 grand every half term. So every 6 months that I was in college, I was paying 3.5 grand. I was in that college for 3 years, so I would have spent close to 30 grand in that. And like you, I was taught everything about nutrition, the food pyramids. And the reason why I had to go into the nutrition, because I wasn't allowed to teach nutrition when I did my PT certs. So when I did personal training, I was only allowed to give nutrition advice, but I was never allowed to give out any plans. So that's why I said, right, that's why I said, right, I need to go to nutrition school, and I need to be able to design nutrition plans for people, because I couldn't teach people, I couldn't coach people just to how to train and not being able to eat properly. So that's why I went back. That's why I went back to college. And for years and years and years, I did this. But you know what always came up? The same questions always came up. Mark, I'm hungry. Mark, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with my health. And I would always say to these people, listen, stop talking shy. Just do what you're told.
Yeah.
Just follow the guidelines. Be in a calorie deficit. When I look back at that and understand what I know now, I feel ashamed of myself talking to people like that. I really do. I feel absolutely ashamed that the people that were really, really struggling, I didn't understand why.
Yeah. Well, you know what? From that aspect, Mark, and just flip it on the script. Sorry, Peter, we're going to get to you. From me studying to be a nutritionist, I had the foresight to say I can't ethically tell people to eat this way. I could not justify getting my degree and having this garbage that I did not wholeheartedly agree with. And it's not about right or wrong. Me personally, don't see what they're teaching to be correct. Now, is it possible to be healthy with what they say? There's so much gray. But actually, as a practicing, like ethically pushing person that someone comes to for help, I couldn't do it. And it was tough. I'm not saying it. I took that decision lightly, but I'd rather go on my own and try and, practice and preach what I preach to the people that I think could do the most good. And I mean, the jury's out. Studies, we can get into that later. But Peter, let's get your take on this, because from coming from a diabetic, I know you've had a nutritionist, dietitian, endocrinologist, all these people that are all certified, degreed, institutionally accredited. What do you think?
Yeah, so I've seen it mostly from the patient's side perspective, and I've had several hospitals where I went as a diabetic for over 16 years now. And the first diabetic that I went to, there I had the longest appointment, because of course she had to introduce me to all the diet aspects of diabetes. Mainly what they tell you is about that you have to count carbohydrates, not much more. And then they'll present a meal plan, which is just a balanced meal plan. And those people, they get an education of 3 or 4 years. But if you think about it, in the past, you had universities and people were really educated, and universities were quite exclusive. Not everybody could go to university. And nowadays, everybody can become a nutritionist or a dietitian in this case. If you inscribe and you are able to sort of memorize things and have some level of reasoning, because of course you still need some reasoning also if you're being taught nonsense, then you can easily finish such a study. And I've seen it. I worked in a totally different field at university, and nowadays, since everybody can simply access university, you also don't need to pay excessive amounts of money. You can get subsidies from the government also to help you financially and that sort of things. If you look at the average student that is coming in, the quality is really deplorable. And because I've seen students that are not able to read a proper half page of text. And if you look at their notes, it's a disaster. And basically, they learn their exams by looking up example exams from the past, and it's sort of memorizing. And don't expect. I mean, there are exceptions. I mean, there are good students, but don't accept high levels of critical thinking. And I think it's like this also at nutrition schools. I mean, I've not been there, but I cannot imagine it's very different. And this Jake, I mean, he's called Jacob probably, this guy from the video, and he genuinely thinks that you should rely on these people. I don't think he is presenting it as some sort of false argument from his side. He genuinely believes that. But yeah, what you talked about and what I've seen at hospitals, those people didn't help me.
Yeah.
They just present like all the old facts about fat, cholesterol, saturated fat, that you do need carbohydrates. Yeah, all of those things.
There's always a fallback to somebody else outside yourself benefiting from the advice that they're giving. And, that's not to say, obviously we're not doctors, we're not scientists, but, we're not trying to, I don't think the people are bad. I don't think doctors are bad. I don't think anybody that's trying to get better or educate or help or save lives is bad. But you have to look beyond them to the systems and where the systems are, what the systems are driving.
Yeah, you should look at who is handing out the credentials and who is defining what you have to learn. And I mean, the textbooks that the curriculum that they get at the schools, there's where it's going wrong.
And it's funny because
they're all taught the exact same thing.
Yeah,
everything is taught the exact same thing.
But what's weird about the dietitian side of things is it's a full on committed degree. Like it's not just even 4 or 5 years. You've got to take your sciences, all your compulsory stuff. But the funny thing is when you're taking biology, chemistry, and whatever it is, physiology, whatever your minors are, you don't tie it all together because you're learning about cellular biology. And then you learn about these macronutrients. If you just would put them both together and learn how the nutrients are absorbed in the cells, but it's almost like it's always isolated in what you're doing. You're an evolutionary biologist. You learn this. You're a chemist. You learn this. And instead of like everything together, and that's what I find with all the doctors in our space, in the carnivore space. They step outside their boxes and they take everything in from a wide angle. Some of them specialize, like Dr. Robert Lustig with the fructose and the stuff. You have guys that look at it from learn from everything. And I think that's really, really important. And I think that's probably what we all did too. I mean, obviously Peter had a situation where he, arguably had to take his life in his own hands. I mean, he's got a serious thing that if he doesn't know what's going on, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. And, it's just, if you look at that from what he is, an outlier, he is against the system that was stopping him from feeling the way he is feeling now, doing things that he wants to. It's easy to see when someone does it for themselves. And unfortunately, it's the systems that I think are
what you said is really important thing. And also my professor from when I did the PhD, he was a good example of it in a totally different field in mathematics. But this guy was multidisciplinary. So he was very smart with mathematics. But if you looked at 90% of the faculty of mathematics, it were all these theoretical mathematicians doing nice stuff, but they are just working in their own field. And this guy was working on mathematics, on physics, also cooperating with industry, because it's all helps each other. Science and industry and different fields in science. And that's how you recognize good science and good scientists.
No doubt, for sure. Rick, yeah. I am the original outlier. Yes, you are. And everybody, just a shout out to Rick in the Keto Cookout. I checked it out a couple of days ago. It was good. Good times. Thanks, Rick. And thanks for supporting us as well. But yeah, man, it's a mess. And unfortunately, I think our system is so driven into this division. And, just look at the food pyramid. Anybody wants to question that, look at what side you're on. You can tell in about 30 seconds what somebody believes. Because if they're taught and told that that's correct, without feeling anything, and it's I'm not going to say because I'm old or anything like this, but like look at Rick, for instance. He's he's been doing this for a long time, 40 years. Okay, these kids have been taught something for 2 years or 3 years, or they get their degrees, but they haven't lived it. And that's
Can I just add one point as well?
Yes,
Can I just
absolutely.
add one point as well? Like you mentioned earlier, Peter, with the system and how poor people are at coaching. I've seen a trend in the last 5 years. When I went to college, like I had to do 2 years in college for PT, and then I had to do 3 years in college for nutrition. People can actually go now and do their PT certs, and they can get qualified in 3 months. 3 months. People are actually doing their nutrition within 6 months in this country now.
From
6
home
months.
as well, eh? In the Netherlands, you
6
can do
months.
most of it from home.
Yeah. And when you look at these people, I would never judge anybody, but in this situation, I have to.
Yeah.
When you look at the majority of the people that are learning this stuff, these people are overweight. So these people are actually coaching people to be healthy, and they're overweight themselves.
And you know what? Or you have the opposite, Mark. You have somebody that's metabolically super resilient, all health. Like, you know, you're young, you're youth, you're resilient, you're healthy. Like we've all seen it. You know, they're telling you to do what they do or they've been taught when they have not understood the other side.
And can I just add one more point as well? There's a 16-year-old, a well-known influencer that's in my country. Now he's after been snapped up by the big guys on social media because he's ripped, he's shredded. He has an unbelievable six-pack. People are buying into the bullshit that he looks absolutely amazing. So what we're going to do is we're going to sell our brand onto him. He's going to sell our products, and people are buying them. It's from a 16-year-old.
And exactly, if you look like you touched a good point there, Mark, because look at who endorses what. Okay, keto's bad. You can't do keto, dangerous. But then all these products come out saying keto, keto, keto. So they want their cake and they want to eat it too, because this guy, now they can get behind it and then they can say he's able to do it. You're broken or you can't because it's you can't do this. But you got to listen to him because that's what the end game is.
I done a video. This is no word of a lie. I did a video last year where I had my top off, and I had a protein supplement approach me. They said to me, like, honestly, this is no word of a lie. I had a protein supplement company approach me and say, listen, would you mind endorsing our products? And I told them, no interest.
Good for you. Good for you. I mean, I've kind of made a rule with myself. Like, I'm not gonna, like, I know I'll get into, I guess I got some things to tell you about Redmond salt, but, you know, it's like all these elements. Like, I don't believe in electrolyte drinks. I don't, like, you got to be very careful. And I'm not saying anything about element being good or bad, but you have to watch because look at what happened with Rob Wolf and the maltodextrin. I mean, I just believe in if you're going to take electrolytes, you should just take electrolytes. Like that's kind of my thing. Everybody's got their own thing. That's beside the point. But it's that sponsorship, that endorsement, those proteins. Like, you know, who endorses food? You know what's funny? Who endorses God and Mother Nature intended real natural whole food? Carnivores. Just eat food. You know what I mean? There may be a place that you may have to supplement things. If you can't eat, your digestion's slow, but that all changes. And it always leads to real food. So who's right and who's wrong? It's like we're preaching essential nutrients, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and fatty acids. We're preaching natural biology taking over. We're preaching real food that's, you know, from the best source possible. How is that wrong? And it's funny how they ship that too, right? No. Carnivores are unsustainable. Like that's bad for you. You need to take a whey powder because this is the way to get your and by the way, it's from peas and that's better, right? Like,
it's everything, right? It's meat, it's milk, it's the sun. I mean, I went cycling for 4 hours in the sun yesterday, and I get brown, but no sunburn.
No.
Milk, meat, sun. Well, there are a lot more things.
Yeah. Water.
Going out in nature, maybe. I mean, will that be dangerous as well?
And you know, coming from like Mark's a coach, I'm a coach. Like, you know, anybody that wants to work with us, give us a call. Like honestly, our beliefs is natural ways. Like your body does when you get out of the way of your own body, your body does the work to heal. And here's the deal. Obviously, guidance is appreciated and it's helpful. but your body heals you. That's it. There is no drug. There is no magic witchy supplement thing. You may get enhancement, you may get benefits, but your body does the work. And when it's naturally efficient, it does it better. And it's clear now, like with all of us. Like I just got back, I had my gums ripped open from the dentist. This was like 4 days ago. Like, what the hell's going on, man? I was looking online. It's supposed to heal in 3 weeks. And I'm not saying I'm any kind of genetic freak. This is just what happens when you're not inflamed, right? It's amazing. You know, my cheek went from chipmunk cheek to this, and it's unreal. And I mean, why? Why is this happening? I'm just some special guy? No, it's inflammation. Simple. You know, inflammation.
And even small things like your mental alertness. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I take away from this.
Totally.
Like I wake up every day with a massive purpose. I don't wake up anymore feeling like shit anymore. Like I'm excited to wake up every morning.
Yeah.
I'm excited to wake up every morning knowing that I'm going to change someone's life today.
That's yeah, no doubt, man. That's you know, it's interesting. Like now that the sun's out, how much energized I feel. Like just seeing the sun out when I wake up. Ooh, let's go do something.
And I'm like you. The first thing I wake up in the morning, like I don't even look at my phone. The minute that sunshine is out, I'm out. I don't care whether it's cold. I'm out in that sunshine. And I've been out in the sunshine where people are looking at me and saying, "Why is he sitting out in the sun?" I'm like, why are you not sitting out in the sun?
Yeah. That's the thing, you know, all these dietitians, you could just take your diet plans and shove it up your ass and just go outside in the sun, step on the grass. And I mean, I was talking to a friend, a couple of weeks ago. It was still cold, but the sun was out, and all the kids and everybody's playing baseball at the park with all these winter jackets, and they're like this, and I've got my shirt off and I'm walking around, and people are like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "You guys just don't get it, man." Like, I got my little D-Minder app just to know if it's early enough in my northern hemispheric country, and I'm just like, I get the sun, man, as much as I can. And
I remember when I was in Florida like last year, I was walking around the parks barefoot in the sunshine.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was looking at me and saying, "Why is he walking?" And this was barefoot. I wasn't even wearing any socks.
Yeah, I touched trees.
That's funny. I had the total opposite experience. Last summer, I went for a walk outside. 2 kilometers or so, barefoot, and nobody noticed. And the only people that notice it are children. The children, they are very observant, and then this child says to his mother, "Look at this guy." That's but then I mean, people don't care. That's the funny thing. If you always think that they are busy with thinking about you, but it's absolutely not the case. They just don't care typically.
Don't care. Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, I mean, and that's the thing that, you know, any dietitian, nutritionist, tying it back into that is, it's like, you guys don't, it's the indoctrination, and it's the programming too, is they think that they heal you. They think that they are saving your life, where realistically any drug, any plan, any, it's you that does the work. Go ahead, Mark.
Who did we just have on last?
Right.
We had Anthony on. What did he say on that podcast? He fired so many doctors.
Yeah.
He had so many doctors. He told me as well that he worked with so many dietitians. Not one of them could fix the problem. Not one.
Yeah. And, you know, that is something to be said. Not only, guys, you can go to my channel. I don't know if Peter put it up, but Anthony Irwin, he lost 500 pounds. Go check it out. The full interview. It's amazing, and it's mind blowing. And it's just, there are so many hidden things in that interview, where if you actually take a few things of what he said, holy shit, man, this is reality. And it smacks you in the face. Unbelievable. And we do, we got another situation. I'm gonna foreshadow for next week. Mark's got some exciting news, that, especially coming from somebody that's helping somebody. It's probably the best news you could ever get. So stick around for that one, because I'm excited about that. And just before we switch gears a little bit here, I just want to remind everybody, we're here Sundays, 10 a.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. in our respective countries, regardless if the sun is dimmed or not. I'd have to show that other because it's so ridiculous. And we do appreciate this, like, subscribe, guys. Leave a comment. We appreciate you, Rick, because you know what, the engagement matters, and it helps with the algorithm. I know in Canada, I'm just not gonna lie, there's some crazy stuff going on with censorship and government, and I've seen my channel like not get pushed. So any comment helps. Throw an emoji, put it on in the background. Just help us spread the word to because like we're three normal guys. Like we're nothing special, except we're all individually special in our own way. But it's just we're real people having real conversations, and we do appreciate the support, and we just want to keep getting this meat message out. Now, sorry guys, we got to switch gears a little bit. Now I'm gonna give you guys an option. Do we want to go into I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be offensive, but into a little vegan controversy, or do we want to go into some processed food stuff that I've seen and said? So you guys tell me what you want. We'll go there.
I don't mind. What do you want to do, Pierre?
No, let's go vegan.
Okay, let's do it. We'll do that right now. Here, I got this to say. Mark, put up.
I have a bone to pick with you carnivore people. Cavemen and your ancestors did not eat mountains of red meat. That's a lie. In fact, they ate very little red meat, and we can tell you this from two different directions. One, just looking at their grave sites and their remains and the garbage that they left. They ate a lot of lentils and plants and maybe some insects. And the reality is that we were never really actually hunter-gatherers. That's new emerging evidence. It's just not true.
Yo, I just want you to know, I'm not even mad at you. I'm just done fucking with you.
Just okay. Hey, let's just say, how the fuck do you know? Okay, what do you mean a little meat? What the hell does a little meat mean? When you hunted, you ate a little meat, or when you hunted, you ate the whole animal? Like once a week, twice a week, once a week. Hunter-gatherers. You didn't eat. Hunter-gatherers. What does that even mean? Hunter-gatherer. So are you a gatherer-hunter? Kind of funny how they don't say that, right? You gather a hunter? Like, unbelievable. I'll let you guys.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. I got a laugh out of it. Big, major laugh out of it.
And you know what's funny is like I'm not dogging anybody that tries to improve their health and put in their effort to do something. I am down on 100%. Anything, if you're actually taking it personally, but don't virtue signal other people into your ideology. I mean, obviously I have a bias with carnivore, but what I like to do is to show people the different sides, and they make the decision to see what's right for them. I mean, shit.
I think it's fair to say that we all want the same for everybody. We all want people off processed food. I think we can all agree on that. Sure. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
And when we look at the vegan lifestyle, even though all three of us don't agree with it, it is a little bit healthier than eating processed food. So I mean, it is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But from my point of view, is this: you're not getting anything essential in the diet whatsoever. You're not getting essential fatty acids. You're not getting essential amino acids. I don't care how many peas you're having, how many beans you're having. You're not getting all 9 essential amino acids in a vegan lifestyle. And that's where I have the problem.
Yeah.
And nobody should be supplementing your diet. You're getting everything that you need in a carnivore diet. So why, when people are getting their B12 and their vitamin, well, we get our vitamin D as well. But a lot of people that go on the vegan lifestyle, they're B12 deficient.
Mark,
they're also.
Sorry, man, that might not be true actually with the vitamin D, because you know what? When they're eating all the plant sterols, heart healthy grains, and all that, lowering their cholesterol, you need cholesterol to synthesize it.
Yeah.
Right. So and I mean, theoretically, you're in the sun, you're going to be getting some vitamin D. But sorry, man, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're right. I'm glad you said that. You're right. You're 100% right.
And I mean, those are the processes that we kind of go with. And all you have to do is, hey, if you choose to not eat animals for your own personal reasons, I support that. I'm not gonna, but you have to look at it objectively at all the information. What you are saying there, Mark, right? Beans and peas do not cut it. It just is. So can you make it happen? Can you be healthy? Yeah. What happens to most people, and I've heard a lot of times, and even with friends that are vegetarians for years, there's always a point where they're like, "Uh-oh, what do I got? I got to do something," and that shows you there. And
Yeah,
I mean,
what I also see a lot is that these people become very fanatic, and they, at all costs, want to show that in the past people didn't eat meat.
gathered.
Me personally, I don't care so much. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that a considerable part of the diet was meat, but even that I don't care about it, because it has to do about the diet that you eat nowadays. But those people, they want to show that it was only plants. It's the same story with carbohydrates. People say that it can only be carbohydrates that you use, or it can only be fiber. And they, I mean, for example, with those people maybe experience some benefits from introducing plants, like in the way that you described. A vegan diet is better than processed. Some people maybe experience personally some benefit of introducing carbs. They feel better while doing sports or so mentally. And so they start to think like, that's the only way. And that's what I feel a lot of times with these people. That's a bit this religious aspect, that there is no other way. So something has benefit, so it must be essential, and there's no other way to obtain the same benefits.
Yeah. You know what? And Mark, you were going on. Sorry, I before I cut you off about that, but there's a whole bunch of other nutrients that you don't get. And I don't know if you wanted to continue that too, because it kind of ties into what Peter was saying.
Yeah, it's just that like you're gonna be deficient in a lot of minerals and vitamins. That's the main thing.
And the insects as well. I mean, if you start to eat insects, they are maybe even higher in anti-nutrients than plants, because they contain these chitins, that they are substances in the exoskeleton, and they block the digestion of proteins. So you'll have to compensate by eating more meat.
and when you see the trend now with the old people, a lot of people are struggling with like sarcopenia.
Yeah.
And a lot of these media experts are pushing us towards fiber, and they're saying not eat enough protein. This is crazy talk, in my opinion. I
just sat down with a lady. She was 72, and she's interested in the carnivore way. And she was telling me how the doctors, they prescribed her, or they've diagnosed her with IBS and osteoporosis. And you know what they said? You need to up your calcium.
Wow.
That's just, that goes to show you that and the IBS, we don't know what to do.
And was that in the diet? Or when they said up the calcium, I'm pretty sure that was in pill form.
Oh, for sure. Absolute. 100%. You need to be taking a calcium. You need the calcium because your age. And I was like, no.
So they're not going to talk about the main calcium, which is collagen in bone meats. They're not going to talk about that. They're just going to talk about an bleeding pill.
Yeah.
And it's going to be disastrous if they don't take extra vitamin D and those things.
Exactly. And it's just, I mean, I explain it to people, like, you might as well be sucking on a cast iron pan, or actually with calcium carbonate, you might as well be sucking on limestone. Just put some rocks in your mouth and suck on it, because the bioavailability of it is ridiculous, right? It just doesn't. It's not the same.
It's crazy.
All you need to do is have a little cheese, a little milk once in a while. Just if you're worried about calcium or bone broth. I don't even ever think of calcium, but it's funny how frailty, sarcopenia, osteoporosis with the seniors into the system. That's what it's all about, calcium. And it's like, oh my God, calcium mobilization, like you mentioned, Peter, is important. Vitamin D, vitamin K2. You need these things to support it. And yes. Go ahead, Mark.
That's the hardest thing I had. That's the biggest challenge I have when I take on people that are over 40. Is moving them into weight training, because they're absolutely convinced that cardio is the way. And when you're speaking to a female that's never done weight training in her life, and that's in her 40s, 50s, and you're saying like, listen, okay, you're not doing any more cardio, you're going to be strength training for the rest of your life now. They're looking at you and saying, no, I don't want to do that.
And
it's very hard. It's very
no
hard.
doubt. And that comes down to bone density, right? Like that's what you want, maintaining muscle and bone density. The two most important things that never get talked about when they're eating a dietitian, a dietitian approved diet when you're frail and later in your life. It's absolute. And then I think a lot of times with this stuff too is, and this is where the vegans don't understand, is your digestion, your stomach acid production. What is happening? As we get older, they say, oh, you just lose you're not as hungry, you don't need as much food. No, it's the exact opposite. You need every mineral or nutrient that you need. You must maximize at an optimal level, because you're slowing down a bit, but you need stomach acid to digest it.
The one thing that we need to optimize very, very importantly as we get older is muscle mass.
Yes.
Lean muscle mass. That's the one thing we need to hold on to. You do not want to lose it. You do not want to lose it.
I just thought of something too, Mark. When you say lean muscle mass, what do you think your intestine is? What do you think that peristalsis is? It's a muscular contraction. So if you have a leaky gut and you're broken and you're not eating enough protein and you're not getting enough all the supporting nutrients, then when you do eat that little bit of what you need, you're filling up with all the shit grains, like 6 to 11 servings. You eat your oatmeal is more important. Your energy is more important than your bones. That's the way that ties it back into dietitian advice. That ties it back into nutritionists. They look at what you should, not at how you are. And that's
exactly, yeah.
And it's really scary, like, I mean, my mom was going south with her health really quickly, and we fixed a lot of stuff, and I'm so grateful that she listened to me, because it took her back into a place where and it was all food. It was all food, and it wasn't just 100% carnivore. You have to do. It was just changing her perspective.
It absolutely breaks my heart when I see people that are the same age as me and they're in a really, really bad state.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it breaks my heart, because I'm looking at these people. I'm like I know just by looking at you, you're on a ton of medication. You're eating shift fit. You're on shift food, and all you're doing the wrong exercise.
No doubt.
That's also what I think about the dietitians in hospitals. The majority of the patients are type 2 diabetics, and when I think about it, how many people will they have really helped? Because typically those people have an A1C of 8 or 9 or 10%. And yes, the dietitian will help, and they will balance out the diet and probably reduce a little bit carbohydrates, or maybe reduce the calorie intake, something like that. And the A1C drops by 1% or so. And the doctor and patients are happy, but that's no real gain, of course. Then you're at an A1C of 7 or so.
I spoke to a woman yesterday that had an A1C over 17, right?
Well, 17.
Over 17 on Facebook.
Well,
right?
long-term diabetic also, or
she's been a diabetic. She's a type 2 now for over 12 years now. She's been on metformin for, I think she was telling me 6 or 7 years.
Managing her diabetes, right?
Yeah. And I got on Facebook because I got into this Facebook group because I seen the size of her. And I was like, Jesus Christ, this is insane. And I started speaking to her, and she started talking to me about her diet. And she was telling me that she was eating healthy, like the normal grains, all the bullshit. And then she told me about her number. And I said, Jesus Christ. I said, listen, you need to listen to me right now. Yeah. You need to get off these carbohydrates. She turned around and says to me, you don't know what you're talking about. My doctor's looking after me.
Yeah, but I mean, for those people, an A1C of 10, 12, 14, 16, it's literally all the same. Because if I think from a healthy perspective, now being a type 1 diabetic with an A1C of just below 5, what do I have to do to obtain an A1C of 10? Jeez. Your blood glucose needs to be like above 250 literally all day.
Yeah.
I would not be able to manage to obtain such values. I don't know what I would have to buy at the supermarket. 10 chocolate bars a day and oatmeal, big oatmeal jars and rice in the evening. that wouldn't even be enough.
But you know what's kind of interesting with your point, both of you, with your points is, as your body breaks down and is less efficient, less does the more damage. So you wouldn't have to buy 10 chocolate bars. You'd have to go out of control for a few years, and then 3 or 4 chocolate bars would do the same. Like all of a sudden you're not, you know what I mean? It's the functionality of everything that's causing the extreme.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
And that's why whenever I get a new client that has any metabolic problems, CGM right away. Because when I start explaining the dangers, the damage, the efficiency of your blood sugar, why you have to look at it makes things so much easier, because nobody puts it into pictures. You know what I mean? I can tell you, after 4 grams of 4 grams of sugar, glucose in your blood, it's dangerous. But to somebody who doesn't really understand, like, well, so who cares? My blood glucose is at 8, you know? But when they see it, and they start to understand, like, holy shit. And then they can associate their mood or their feelings or their pain to these swings. It's a lot easier to explain. And then they start to realize, holy shit. And I have no idea why no doctor, endocrinologist ever nowhere says, CGM, let's see how you're doing. Why is that not? We have the technology to do it to everybody, just to see. You don't need it.
Yeah, you can see everything. Also, the thing you mentioned about only 4 grams of glucose being there in your bloodstream. If I don't inject insulin and I look at the CGM and I eat 4 grams of sugar, I can be lucky and my blood glucose will be still sort of in range, below 8, 9, or 10 millimoles. And so that clearly shows how it works. As soon as you eat more, you need insulin. And I've seen a funny video actually also on the channel of Jacob Food. And that was about Carnivore JT. I think he was comparing carbohydrates with alcohol. There's this argument that carbohydrates are the preferred fuel source for the body. And so he discussed like, well, alcohol is also immediately digested by your liver. Is alcohol then maybe the preferred energy source? And that's a very good argument, because carbs, in fact, just like alcohol, are immediately metabolized. They are not really utilized. They are metabolized in the sense that they are immediately stored in the liver as glycogen, because your body has to get rid of it.
It's toxic.
And so, and then this other thing about carbohydrates, that they are being metabolized very quickly. That is actually a bad thing, because if you absorb them quickly, they end up all in your bloodstream. And a good thing about protein and fat is, just like with fiber actually, is that they are digested slowly. It's actually very good to have a slow and constant absorption of your nutrients.
Well, you know,
and that's, I mean, I never heard anybody about this argument that fiber is good. And then in the discussion between eating raw or cooked meat, for example, there's always this argument like, if you don't cook your meat, it becomes less digestible because the proteins are digested more slowly. Well, maybe that's actually good, just like with fiber.
Yeah. I mean, and it comes down to, like, look at how much bang for your buck you're getting when you're eating protein and fat. Is it slow? It absorbs. It takes a long. You get all of it and it's you know, those comparisons are ridiculous. Like, when you just look at, you can just say, okay, glucose is the preferred fuel source of the body. Why?
Yeah, it's glucose, not carbs.
It's dangerous after this much. Oh, maybe the body's smart. You know, alcohol, your liver compartmentalizes metabolism in order of danger, of toxicity. So when it's busy taking care of the alcohol, maybe don't overload it with carbohydrates and other stuff, right? Like, it's trying to, and this is where those arguments just sort of fall in their face. And I mean, that's where it's like, you need carbohydrates. No, you need glucose. So that's a whole other conversation right there. It's not carbohydrates, it's glucose you need. So if your liver can make glucose, when would you need it? Right? Like, those are the arguments that we never get. We just get no, this is, you know, carbohydrates are, and that is going to lead me into this week's episode of Write That Down, because we got a good one with Mark. We're going to Mark's school today.
These guys are getting richer while you're getting sicker. Write that down. 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 These foods are highly processed, complete garbage, and I can promise you now, I wouldn't even give it to my fucking dog. Write that down. What's happening, people? Right, let's do another shop with Mark. And I'm going to show you guys the biggest nutrition scam we were ever told. And the problem is, every single one of you are doing it and falling for it. Let's go. Okay, this is the problem, guys. Every single one of these foods that we buy, we are convinced on a daily basis that this is what we should be doing to get in shape or be healthy. These people on social media like to constantly remind us that it's all about the law of thermodynamics. It has nothing to do with the food. And once we're in a deficit, we're going to lose weight without addressing the main problem. The main problem is simple, guys. None of this shit has new nutritional value, okay? None of it. Anything that has a label on it, guys, is not a good sign, okay? And we should be avoiding it at all costs. All this is just crap, and we should be just eating properly. Now let's look at another example. Most of you will go out and buy low-fat milk because you're brainwashed into thinking that low-fat is the better option, it's better for our health. When in fact, guys, it's actually the opposite. It's the low-fat milk that's actually causing the problems, because what they've done is they've taken the fat out and they've replaced it with the sugar. And if we just ignore, guys, what's on the front of the box, okay, because that's not the important part. All this calorie nonsense is not the most important part. What's the most important part is what's on the back of these foods. This is what we should be focusing on, guys. What's on the back. We're focusing on the wrong problem. And this is the reason why so many of you are struggling with your health. You need to focus on what's on the back. Because I can promise you this now, this is going to have a huge impact on your health. It's not a matter of if, it's when.
Well said, as always, Mark. And I just wanted to say, please, if you need to write this down. He's at Fitness Beyond Time 01 on Instagram and TikTok. Also, Carnivore Evolution on Spotify and the YouTube channel, which we're trying to sync up. We'll get there. But anyway, Mark, well said. And that sort of ties in. I could just imagine what any dietitian would be saying with your video there. I can imagine any nutritionist would be what they'd be saying. But
I got a lot of hate on that video on Instagram. A lot of hate.
No doubt. And
a lot of people were getting on to me and saying, like, listen, you're scaremongering. You'll never outrun the law of thermodynamics. It's all about calories, energy in, energy out. And I was like, listen, I haven't got any time for this shit.
Yeah. Peter, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I first was thinking that you have very nice supermarkets. I mean, thinking back of the times that I did go to the supermarket, I mean, it's amazing. So much space, so much nice. So
I'll do more videos for you, Peter.
Yeah.
The supermarket.
Well, I mean, TikTok viewers like supermarket videos, and I somehow also like them very much. Also, if it's not my food, but yeah. Also, when you talked about the information on the back of the package, I think that there is a lot lacking there as well, because in a shot in the video I noticed the vitamins. That's all fake. I saw vitamin A on a box of cereals or anything, so that must be added, and of course not the true vitamin A, because it's not the fat soluble version. Things about glyphosate, where are the products coming from? I mean, at least it should be organic, I guess, but even then, how is it treated? That sort of stuff, and it's
I've actually got a video on all that. I've actually got a video on basically how we're misled about the vitamins and what you see on the packets when you see like gut health, and it's rich in vitamins. Like same with box of cereals, what you see on, like, it has all, it's fortified with vitamins, all this crap.
Yeah,
I've actually.
And with the carbohydrates, it mentions fiber and carbohydrates, of which sugars, saturated fat, unsaturated fat. Nothing about the protein composition. Nothing about the type of fiber. Fiber, it has its purposes. So if you eat these things, it can be a good idea to think about soluble and insoluble fibers and that sort of stuff.
And the main things you see in my supermarket anyway is low cholesterol, low fat,
heart healthy,
high protein, okay, gluten free, low sugar, Yeah, low sugar. And what else? What's
Zero
what other
fat.
things? Zero fat. Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean?
Sustainable.
It's just sustainable. You
Oh,
know what
yeah.
I mean? And that's all you see. And that's
And
what
you know
people
what?
are. And that's what people are going after.
And you know what's funny, Mark? You say that because if you just take yourself out of yourself for a second and observe yourself walking through the grocery store, what are you drawn to? If that thing is sticking out for some reason outside of yourself, you're being marketed to. You are being programmed. It's very simple. Why do we have to say broccoli is gluten-free? Why do we have to say this is that? Because they need to sell you on an idea. It
The
has
sun is gluten-free. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So,
The sun is
And
organic. Go ahead.
And can I just add one more point as well? Why do we have to sell that all calories are equal? That's what really frustrates me.
yeah.
And then
Like
you say
all calories are equal.
then you say you can live on Coke, and people, oh, that's silly. But no, but you hear the argument. What you just said, Mark, is what that is. But then you say, okay, well, live on pumpkin pie. Well, don't be silly. Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Calories are calories. You can do it. You can't have both ways. Oh, but you need what? What do you need? Come on, tell me what you need. Oh, you need essential other. So that just is ridiculous. So anyway, tying this into, I'm gonna play one of mine this week because I think this is interesting because we just always hear the shit about study this has to be proven. And this one I put out there to see what people would say about it, but it kind of gives you that other perspective on it's not always just is or isn't. So I would love to have you guys comment on this.
What's up, guys? Quite often, especially in our space, in the carnivore community, in the health and nutrition space, a lot of the pushback, show me a study, studies prove, studies show. And I was thinking about something today, and I just want you to put this into perspective. I don't use a microwave. Do you use a microwave? Well, are they safe? Are they benign to any health problems? Well, how long have they been studying them? Now, put this into perspective here. What are you putting in the microwave? Are you covering it in plastic? Are you putting processed food with other chemicals that might be reacting to it? How far away are you standing from the microwave? 1 foot? In another room? What are the effects of the microwave on the nutrition? Every molecule in that food stuff that's in there, are they studying it? So you put something in the microwave, you eat it right away. It's harmless, right? Over time, what happens? Interesting little thing here. So do we have to prove the microwaves are safe?
So anyway,
that was a good video. Yeah, you made a lot more sense there. It makes perfect sense.
And it's like, what are we looking at here? Like, you can eat food right out of the microwave. You don't feel anything, but how do you know? How?
Exactly.
And I think like that's the thing with it ties sort of into calories in, calories out. It's food is got this in it, but how do we study it? Do we really need a study to show that meat is really good for you? Like it's ridiculous, and how they try and they just go down the list about we've all felt it as carnivores, like, well, there's no long-term studies. The vegan
this is what really annoys me about another social media person that I can't stand on social media. I don't know if you guys know him, Dr. Ids.
Oh yeah.
Oh my Jesus! Every time he talks about something, he always mentions a study. Always.
But and that's where that video you did about the vegan guy saying hunter-gatherers, like, so now the logic has to be disproven from the original study, anthropology in our lives. Now you're challenging the hunter-gatherer, like, necessity. Now you're challenging, like, you can't, your argument falls flat on its face now. So you have to go back then, and they have to say, well, our teeth didn't gnaw apart flesh. And it's like, wow, it just keeps going back. You can't just see how this logically makes sense. Nutrient density of meat. We go into, it's got everything, but it's bad for you. It'll kill you. It'll cause heart disease and colon cancer. but it's got the stuff that saves you from it. How does that work?
Yeah, and people read studies and they are just out of touch with reality, because fiber is needed to prevent constipation. So if you only look at the study, then of course you would say, oh, carnivores don't eat fiber, so they'll get constipation. And it's a simple fact. Just check with thousands of carnivores. Do they all think they don't have constipation while they are spending hours, and they don't realize that they are spending hours on the toilet or something like that? No, that's not happening. It's a very simple check, and it's with all those studies basically that they somehow need to generalize all the observations that they make, and yeah, that's also a typical thing that Dr. Itz does, for example.
And like a lot of times you're mentioning constipation too. It's funny how like they don't look at electrolytes. And if you look at a standard diet and somebody's getting constipated, well, maybe you're retaining water. Maybe you're just eating a shit ton of grains that are hygroscopic and they're swollen. They're sucking all the water out of you or pulling all the water into you. Yeah. Either way, no shit, you're constipated. Yeah, so why would you be eating more of the stuff that caused it? Be the solution? Like I mean,
it's so easy to find some case reports on anything to show that anything is unhealthy or damaging for your body. Because, I mean, we know the stories about this Florida guy that was eating 9 pounds of cheese. And yesterday, I've also seen a study that was sent to me by a commenter on TikTok that was about ketoacidosis in somebody that was on a ketogenic diet.
Okay.
And that aspect was true, but the guy was also on a 5-day-long fast, probably dehydrated or anything. There was no information about what was happening, but people take a single study like that, and then somehow this proves that the whole concept of a ketogenic diet is damaging.
Hey, it's just like James Blunt. James Blunt got scurvy on the carnivore diet.
Yeah, it's another one. Yeah.
Right? Like that was from your neck of the woods. That was wild, man. Like, actually, for the record, I was in the dentist getting my gums chopped, ripped apart, and stitched up. The doctor said, "You have bulletproof gums." And I was like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "Well, I was like, is that good?" He's like, "It's great for you, horrible for me, because I'm having a tough time doing my surgery with it." So you know what? Okay, that's kind of the opposite of scurvy, right? Like, my gums were beautiful. So that's unreal. So anyway. Well, boys.
And by the way, about this microwave story, that's also a common pattern. You can compare it with the thing that they do with milk pasteurization. So the people, they are just overconfident. They think like, oh, we can put something in the microwave and we compare it with raw food or normally cooked food. And then we look at the macronutrients in it or something like that. And of course, we are not able to perfectly test every compound of the food and determine the impact of the smallest type of differences that there can be in food. And it's the same with pasteurization. It's so simple that if you pasteurize something at, 65 degrees or so, somehow miraculously, it only kills the bad bacteria and nothing of the good enzymes in it. Well, that's just insane, right? A thought like that. And there again, it's overconfidence. We've probably just compared like the protein contents and the fat contents of the milk and said like, okay, raw milk or pasteurized milk, it's basically the same.
And if you look at everything that Mark took us a tour of that supermarket with, is that right there, Peter? It's the same thing.
Yeah. You can write it on the label that it's the same. I mean, it both has vitamin A, or it both has protein, or it both has still the same macronutrient makeup in the milk, and
all the stuff that Mark just showed you is all the other ingredients that isn't whatever it is, the stabilizers, the flavor enhancers, the nutrients and stuff, perfectly fine. But raw milk, poison, kill you. It will, Jesus, unpasteurized milk is dangerous, but yet all of those things that you presented, Mark, had those chemicals that are safer than the real thing. It's mind blowing, man.
All studied one by one, without the interactions and.
And I've been trying to find it, but I mean, I heard something. It was like a talk or a podcast or a lecture or something about them studying beta carotene by itself without the food matrix, without being in with other compounds corroborating thing. And they were saying it was like, don't quote me on this because I don't know if it's like, stamped official, but they were saying how I think it was potentially carcinogenic, meaning potentially harmful, supplementing it by itself. So, that's just another thing that people would probably say, oh, don't be silly. That's vitamin A, like you got to eat your carrots. But there is something to be said about the food matrix, right? There is.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when all these minerals and like when everything's in there from God and Mother Nature, without any of the anti-nutrients that no one likes to talk about ever, which, I'm sure people don't even believe you, when you say, well, look, there's some anti-nutrients in plants. What are you talking about? Those are good. Right? It's just that we can do a whole other.
Oh, that's the same comparison they make. Like, oh, so you don't want to get your income because you have to pay taxes over it.
Yeah.
I've seen that comparison like 3 or 4 times. And every time that I explain, like, well, in real life, of course, you cannot avoid in a legal manner the taxes. So you have to pay them and you want your income. But with food, you can legally avoid the taxes. You can avoid the anti-nutrients. And
that's really good, Peter. I like that.
They don't want to accept that.
Yeah.
So I know you cannot logically argue sometimes with
I'm not going to make any income. That's it. I'm not. Yeah.
You're gonna piss them off.
Yeah. Well, boys, we've had a little bit of a great run today, and before we say goodbye, I just wanted to remind everybody that we're trying to get this message. We're trying to keep it practical. We're real people. We're not doctors. We're not scientists. We are, we've been doing this a long time. I am 4 years now in this animal-based carnivore space. And, what kind of diet lasts longer than 30 days voluntarily? Like in my whole life, this is incredible. I know Mark and Peter are getting up there in the years as well. And, we're riding it till we don't feel good. And it's, from this point on, we feel pretty good. And if you need help, if you need to, find some guidance or whatever, please reach out to us. Mark at fitnessbeyondtime01.com. Myself, TonyStewartCoaching.com. We can help people that are, the ones that are really, really, because it can be daunting. And I appreciate everybody that wants to start this on their own. That's great. You can do it. But some people really need that steer and the push in the right direction safely and effectively with tools for life. And if you're a diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, and you need to see another side, somebody who is thriving, gets a good grasp on reality and knows his way around both sides, reach out to Peter. He's a phenomenal wealth of knowledge, and especially from the context of a dangerous, possible, fatal, we'll call it a disease, but it's horrible. And reach out to Peter. He's there for you.
That's what you should do anyway, because there are always different approaches. And even if you are not really immediately interested in an approach, or if you're not following it yet, you should inform yourself about how other people are doing, other patients are doing this, dealing with it.
Yep. And Mark, you had something?
Yeah, sorry, Mark.
I was just going to say, let us know what you want to see more of. Do you want to see more of the lives? Do you want to see more of guests? Do you want to see more of topics? Let us know, guys, what you want us to do.
And I know a lot of people in my neck of the woods watch the recording because they're like said 10 a.m. on Sunday. Whatever, it is what it is. But we just please, if you're here till this point in this episode, like, subscribe. I know it sounds weird that I'm saying it. I really, it's kind of like sounds like you're selling something, but it does help push the. Really do appreciate the comments, the likes, the subscriptions to Dutch Carnivore, Carnivore Evolutions. And food for thought, question everything, and a comment, just an emoji, something that says you're here. We do really appreciate that. And we are going to be bringing to you lots of different stuff. We're kind of feeling it out. And I'm glad Mark said that, because let us know what you want and we will deliver. We are here live Sundays at 10 a.m., 6 p.m. in the UK and Ireland, and 7 p.m. in the Netherlands. We are the meat of the matter. That is Mark. He is Peter. I am Tony. Thank you for all your support and help and questions and comments. Rick, we love you. And we will see you very soon. Bye, everybody.
Right.